Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we are going to talk getting started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and today we're taking a look at the Ossiarch Bonereapers, and in particular the Crematorians sub-faction. Now we're going to go through the special rule that makes the Crematorians a special Ossiarch Bonereapers force, before taking a look at a couple of units we recommend to get started with for this particular sub-faction. We'll then expand upon these initial units, looking at some other units we can use to expand upon them, and finally finishing off the video with a little sample army list of 1,000 points for you to use as some inspiration for starting your own Crematorian force for the Ossiarch Bonereapers in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And so, the special rule we get for the Crematorians is called Immolation. Each time a friendly Crematorians model is slain, before removing that model from play, you can pick one enemy unit within 3 inches of said model, and you roll a number of dice equal to the wounds characteristic of the model chosen. For each 5+, the enemy unit will suffer 1 mortal wound. Now this is pretty cool. This means, as your units die, you are effectively exploding and bursting into fire and doing damage to your opponent. What's really cool is the Ossiarch Bonereapers do have a ton of different ways that they can replenish their units. They can bring models back, so you can effectively keep doing this multiple times with the same model, which is pretty cool. Being able to explode models, do mortal wounds, bring them back, do the exact same thing again is a really fun little strategy to do with the Crematorians. And so, where to get started with the Crematorians, but with the Mortison Boneshaper. The Mortison Boneshaper is the hero that is pretty much your builder for the force. They have a cool ability called Boneshaper where they can heal up to 3 wounds, either to your larger constructs of Immortus Guard and Necropolis Stalkers, or they can bring back up to 3 wounds worth of models of Mortek Guard, which we'll talk about in just a second. On top of this, it is a 1 cast and 1 unbind wizard. You've got 3 attacks at 3s and 3s, run 1 damage 2 on there as well, which, isn't a lot, but for a wizard, it's actually a pretty good damage profile. 5 wounds and a 4-up save, pretty survivable for a wizard in all honesty, but, this big thing here is it's going to be able to replenish your units, which is super important. Now, the unit we are most likely looking to replenish are going to be Mortek Guard units. Yes, these are only 1 wound models, but that means you get most of them back. You're guaranteed to get 3 of them back from your Mortison Boneshaper. It's much easier to bring them back with other models we'll talk about later as well. For me, it is just trying to make these exploding Mortek Guard units. That is the super fun thing about the Crematorians. Now, Mortek Guard themselves have 1 wound, a 4-up save, and they can have either Netherite Blades or Netherite Spears. Both of these weapons are pretty similar. You have a 2-inch reach on the spears though, which generally get better as you get bigger units. You will be a 4 to hit rather than 3 to hit on the spears, but then you're forced to wound, Ren -1, damage 1. When you've got things like Netherite weapons where you are just trying to roll exploding 6s, your hit rolls become less apparent when you've not got as many models. And so when you're playing in smaller units, definitely the Netherite Blades, but I'd always just be building the models with Netherite Spears nowadays, and just trying to get those large units built up. You can also have, for every 10 models in the unit, you can have a Soul Cleaver Great Blade. These will be 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, Ren 1, damage 2. They also, lastly, have a command called Shield Wall that they can use on themselves, which will allow them to ignore modifiers positive and negative to their save rolls. Now, looking at where to go next, another model that's fantastic at bringing models back is the Gothizzar Harvester. Effectively, when models die from your Ossiarch Bonereapers force within 6 inches of this unit, you roll a dice, and on a 4+, a friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers model is replenished or wounds are healed. For your units that are 1 wound, this is going to mean models are returned on a 4+, so half your models that are dying are being brought back by the Gothizzar Harvester. Then you're also adding on the fact we've already talked about that Mortison Boneshaper. You're getting plenty of models back to each unit. They're also a monster, 10 wounds, 4-up save. They do put out 6 attacks regardless of Soul Cleaver Sickles or Soul Crusher Bludgeons at 3s and 3s, Ren 2, damage 2. And the Ossified Hooves and Talons will also put out another 4 attacks at 3s and 3s, Ren 1, damage 2, with a 2-inch reach as well. You've also got the Death Head Maw, which is a 16-inch range attack, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 1, damage 1. That make it, a useful piece to have on the table besides just its replenishing abilities. Now, to go with this new model, we're going to talk about the Mortison Ossifector. The Mortison Ossifector is a effectively bone shaper that specifies in these larger constructs. What it's going to be able to do with its refined creations ability is be able to give some extra abilities to our Gothazar Harvester here, or indeed any Mortarch Crawler or Morghast unit within 12 inch. It can either improve the rend characteristic of its weapons, it can stop it taking the first wound or mortal wound each turn, or if the unmodified hit roll for an attack, maybe the missile weapon scores by 6, it will make 2 hit rolls instead of 1. So there's definitely a lot of uses it can bring to the table. On top of that, it's a 1 cast and 1 unbind wizard. Now, Arcan the Black is pretty much a Bone Shaper, but a better version. He's got the same ability, but he can apply it to 3 different units rather than just 1. He is fairly more expensive though, over 3 times the cost, but he also is an amazing spellcaster, getting built-in bonuses to cast and also having some really fun spells on his War Scroll, like the Curse of Years. Lastly, though, to talk about, we have the Endless Spells, and Ossiarch Bonereapers do have quite a few interesting Endless Spells. First of all, the Soul Stealer Carrion, which is the bird, as you might expect, stops models with 1 or 2 wounds being able to contest objectives, which is really fun. The Nightmare Predator is just some straight up mortal wound damage dealing, while the Bone type Shrieker will stop Inspiring Presence and Rally commands being able to use within 12 inch, and it'll also subtract 1 from ward rolls for enemy units within 12 inch, which is really nice in combination with something like the Crematorians, where they're doing mortal wounds and wards are the only save you're going to get against them. And so here we have our sample armor list for the Crematorians. Is actually where they're from. It's why they're all fiery. They're made from like the bones of fire beasts. Grand strategy wise, we're going to defend what's ours. We should be able to hopefully keep opponents' units out of our territory. We are a pretty slow force, so you know, this is probably the grand strategy to go. Triumph, Inspired, +1 win can be really good when we've got things like exploding 6s to hit on our weapons. Being able to get more wounds through with those weapons can be really, really useful. Now, Mortisum Bone Shaper is going to be our general. We've gone with the command trait Dark Acolyte. What this does is the first spell cast by this model each turn will be automatically successful if it's cast. And then we've also got the Artisan's Key, which will allow them to use their Bone Shaper ability 2 times, 1 on each of our Mortek Guard units. We then have the spell on here, Empower Nadirite Weapons, which turns our abilities of Nadirite Weapons from working on a 6+ to hit onto a 5+ to hit instead. And then the aspect of the champion, Fueled by Garish Rage. This potentially can bring the model back after it dies. I think this is probably the way to go, seeing as we only have the 1 character. It's pretty important to be able to bring back those Mortek Guard units. For me, this is the way to go. 2 battle line units of Mortek Guard with Nadirite Spears and Shields. Soul Cleaver Great Blades for 1 in every 10 model. Both units reinforce, using all our reinforcement points at 1,000 points. We then have the Gothazar Harvester and the Bone type Shrieker, which I think is just a really cool piece to bring along with Crematorians. Those negatives to ward saves are awesome. Everything here is wrapped up in a battle regiment though, so it is a 1-drop army. 980 out of 1,000 points, both reinforced units used, and 1-drop as mentioned. If you've got some ideas and some cool plans for Crematorian Force, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And so that is the end of the video. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, drop us a comment down below letting us know what you thought about the video as well. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our great little community here at Sinful Gaming, we have a Discord server, which is linked down in the video's description, and also linked in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel. This can either be by grabbing some channel merch, by going to our Ko-fi store or our Teespring store, or by grabbing some dice from somewhere like the Baron of Dice, where we are sponsored by such a company, or you can go help directly support us by Patreon or YouTube members as well. All of those things are linked down in the video's description. As a special thank you to everyone who does support via Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give you all a shout out. So thank you to our Patreons, Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lowe, Alderon Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Cure Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Iron Grinch, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold, and Andy C. And to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Ronya, Lockloric, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty Stabletop Terrain, Davis Weir, James Tillman, Gargamel196, Disco, and John Castle. Lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing channel artwork for us, and indeed to everyone who helps come on and do the battle reports, and indeed to everyone who helps keep our Discord server a fantastic place for hobbyists to come chat. With that all said, everyone, thank you all for watching. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe, drop a comment down below. Stay safe, everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.